Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. Occasionally, an unwillingly estranged parent will get the opportunity to enter family therapy with their estranged or semi-estranged adult child. The parent is often nervous about this, and in my opinion, justifiably so. I've heard stories of problems getting worse between parents and adult children after family therapy, usually not more than 1 or 2 sessions. But I don't believe it's the therapy per se that is necessarily at fault in those cases. Family therapy can be a very useful tool and is sometimes the only way for families to begin effectively addressing underlying issues so they can heal together. Although family therapy seems to send things off the rails sometimes between parents and adult children, I suspect the real culprit is often a lack of preparation for the parent. So I want to offer a few tips today if you're thinking about proposing family therapy or accepting an invitation from your adult child to see a therapist together, or conjointly, as we call it. The more prepared you are, the better the opportunity potentially afforded by family therapy. When it comes to any kind of conjoint therapy with adult children, the biggest shock for parents is probably the lack of a level playing field. Parents go into therapy anticipating something like mediation, where both sides present their points of view and state their needs, and a compromise is sought. Parents who've been through marital or couples counseling before may be used to listening to their spouse or partner, but also expressing their own needs and expecting their partner to make efforts to understand them. If you go into a therapy session with your child anticipating equal airtime, you may be in for a very painful surprise. If you happen to end up with a therapist who does treat all the adults in the room as peers, instead of recognizing your role as the parent and senior adult in the family, then the more hurt or angry your child is, the more likely the therapy is to be unsuccessful. A hurt or angry adult child expects to be given more airtime and to be listened to a lot before listening. And a savvy therapist will support parents in making the most of the material presented by the adult child. Remember, the parent-child relationship is uniquely asymmetrical because of the power differential set up by your shared history of your child's dependence on you. I talked about this in episode 93 called You're Both Adults But Not Peers, and you can find that at reconnectionclub.com/93. Family therapy with your adult child can be productive and helpful, but you must be prepared both to listen deeply and, unfortunately, to feel as though you're in the hot seat a lot more than half the time. Being the parent in a family therapy session can be harrowing, I think. It's imperative to listen to your adult child's complaints because doing that well can ultimately lead you out of this dark tunnel of estrangement. But it also makes you vulnerable to your own triggers. Your child's complaints may feel abusive, especially if you've experienced verbal or emotional abuse in the past. This creates a complex state of affairs in which you experience an intense need to defend yourself, even as your child's healing requires you to stay open to the very words that are hurting you and triggering your natural defenses. It may feel as though your child is trying to condemn you when he's trying to share his own pain. A good therapist will guide your child to express feelings and needs more effectively using I statements instead of you statements. But even if that's successful, you may still feel beaten up because it's just really hard to be in your seat in those moments. Even if you don't have any relational trauma or abuse in your past, listening to an adult child's complaints in any form will tax the strength, stamina, and self-esteem of just about any parent. That's why before you go into therapy with your child, getting some therapy or counseling for yourself may be necessary to help you prepare emotionally. Assume that any unhealed emotional wounds you carry will be opened again in conjoint therapy with your adult child or children. Please don't go into family therapy before you're ready. Get your own healing well underway, shore up your self-esteem and self-compassion, and go in with the fullest emotional bucket you can muster. Nobody has a completely full emotional bucket, but if yours is only half full or less, you're likely to struggle in therapy with your child. When you're ready to begin family therapy, make sure to communicate with the therapist ahead of time. Ask for a one-on-one session with the therapist before you sit down with your child or children. In that session, express any concerns you have. Tell the therapist you may be triggered but want to be able to listen well, and ask ahead of time for emotional support during sessions with your child. Joining with a therapist in this way can remind both of you that you need and deserve support for the difficult task of being the parent in the therapy room. An experienced family therapist knows how to join with all the members of a family present in the room. Asking the therapist explicitly for support won't keep him or her from also supporting your child during sessions. So no need to worry that you're doing something wrong by asking for help. Once you're in a session together, listening to your child will be your superpower. When you understand your child's experience and can hold it with compassion and without undue shame, reconciliation will have begun. Before you go into any conjoint session, you might want to review episode 41, Seek First to Understand, at reconnectionclub.com/41. To summarize those tips, first, and I wish this were different, but try not to expect equal treatment with your child or children in family therapy. Even if you get that, remember that your child is the one who decided to create distance and may need more than an equal share of room to process the grievances that led her to that decision. Second, don't go into family therapy without preparation. You won't just be potentially wasting the opportunity, you'll be opening yourself up to what may be a harrowing experience without any protective equipment. And this can make things worse between you and your child or children. So ask for more time if you need it before working conjointly. Third, your own therapy can provide you with the protective equipment you need. It's not fair to expect yourself to be able to listen well while feeling strongly triggered and naturally defensive. There's no need to judge yourself for having triggers or feeling defensive. Just equip yourself with what you'll need. In a word, you'll need strength. Fourth, talk to the family therapist and make sure they're aware of your fears or concerns going in. Enlist their help explicitly so you don't feel more alone in the hot seat than you need to during sessions. And last, remember that listening to your child is a superpower. Seeking to understand your child will serve you way better than getting your child to understand you. As a parent, your willingness to listen and your ability to hold your child's pain with compassion and empathy will help him make strides in healing and toward reconnection with you. I wish you and your child and your therapist a successful course of family therapy. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.